Before I move on, I'm going to turn on my camera, and I'm going to turn off my screen sharing, and I'm going to invite our very special guest to, hold on. Hi, Jane. We can't hear you yet. Hold on.
Okay.
Hey, there you are.
Hello.
Hi, Jane. Let me move this over here. Okay. Now I don't look like I'm looking off to my left. All right. So the big announcement here today is we have been working on this for about a year, because I think we started it last year at Closing the Gap, right?
Right. Exactly. Almost a week.
That's right. So let me start with who you are. So our guest today is Jane Odom from PRC, and among other things there, she runs their AAC Language Learning Lab, which you should all know about if you're working on augmentative and alternative communication. And she is awesome. There you go. I'm glad it's there. We see all of you now. That's great.
We match, Bill.
Yes. Here to help. If you'd like to give a little brief introduction to the Language Lab, I think it'd be great. And then we'll kind of talk about what we just did, because it's kind of, right?
So I'm the Director of Implementation Resources for the Prinky Roma Company. And if you don't know, PRC is a manufacturer of communication devices for kids that are nonverbal. So we have dedicated devices as well as an app called Words for Life that's on the iTunes Store. And we have started a website called the Language Lab, which has all of the materials and lesson plans that a teacher or therapist would need to teach a child using augmentative communication. So it's all based on the stages of language development. Some of you might be familiar with Brown stages, and it's based off of that, not exactly, but pretty close. And so you would go on to and can we share my screen?
Yes,
Bill?
you may share your screen.
So I think you have to give me control to do that, don't you?
Oh, now you're just being picky.
I am, I just want that technology to work.
That's right. I will make you the presenter.
There you go. There you go. And we're going to show my screen.
There you go.
So here's the Language Lab. Now, are you able to see the screen, Bill?
Oh no. Did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, you paused.
Whoops.
You paused for a second. Sorry.
Okay, so are you able to see the Language Lab?
Yes, we are.
All right, so you're not going to see me for a second where we're going to look at this. So this is just an example of a lesson plan in the Language Lab where we're working on negative phrases. And in here is a whole entire lesson plan with speaking activities, reading, writing activities, games that you can play, all of the extension activities, as well as the Common Core standards. And by the way, that's a month of my life I will never get back. But if you look up here, you can see that you can get screenshots of what materials are in there, and guess what? We use LessonPix to create some of the materials. How cool is that? Yeah. So here's one that I actually made with our icons, and so this one is going to match the child's communication device if they're using our device. If they're using another manufacturer's, the words are still in there, the lessons are still relevant. We just have the ones that match ours. And so
just to be clear, a year ago, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea here, you go back one sample to the one before the puzzle cards.
Okay.
There you go. So, the other direction.
I'm working.
All right, there you go. So, you'll notice in the far right of that, it actually says shared with permission, because a year ago we made an agreement that the Language Lab would have full access to LessonPix and full rights to use LessonPix generated materials, as long as you made sure that people knew about us. And it's done a great job of getting the word out about us as well. So it's worked out well. But it isn't something where Jane just decided one day, hey, we're going to use LessonPix and publish the stuff, because that would be bad. She did it right and asked, and I was very happy to say yes. And generally speaking, it has worked out real well. So thank you for doing it right, and thank you for using it all year. But yeah, so at this point, you've also now made materials using our generators, but not our pictures, using your symbols.
So yeah, so now we have added all of the relevant Unity icons to LessonPix that we had access to. So I was able to go in and look at this, Bill. I made Spanish verb cards.
That's private. Sure. You're not logged in. Log back in as PRC.
I had all this done.
Ready. I know when I logged you in at 3.
Oh.
It's okay. Go ahead. I'm glad you did it. It's wonderful. This is why you don't share usernames, by the way.
So we can see all the materials that I made. And I'm going to tell you that this literally took seconds to make. So I was able to go in with my core word. I was wanting to work on core verbs. So verbs that are high frequency that the kids need to use all the time. So words like read and play and drink and feel. And then for ours, we have bilingual devices. So for this one, I was just able to go in and hit translate and create some really cool cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and bring up the PDF so you can see, open that up.
Okay.
Hit the download button. I just want them to see that these are Unity symbols, right? So Unity symbols are the actual symbols that come on the devices from PRC. It's one of a couple sets that you have, but it's yours original, and it's actually it is the successor to MinSpeak, correct?
Yeah, it's a version of MinSpeak. So MinSpeak was the language that we originally had on our devices back in the 80s.
Right,
and
actually really neat idea, right? MinSpeak is one of the more interesting thoughts in AAC. The semantic compaction, the ability to take an apple and make it mean eat by adding a verb to it. And it really is one of the more thoughtful AAC symbol sets or approaches that I've seen.
And Bill, it was based on hieroglyphics, believe it or not. Single pictures can have multiple meanings. Yeah. And so you can have a small symbol set, yet generate a ton of vocabulary. Right. So if you were at the top level, you're talking 4,000 words.
And it feeds right into the core vocabulary, right? Where the core vocabulary can be used in lots of settings. You can apply these words in different ways. It really it plays right into where AAC has gone now. So it's really neat. So then the announcement, and it will be tomorrow. And for those of you who are saying, "Oh, cool, I have Unity symbols," you will tomorrow. You will not today. There's an announcement at Closing the Gap that you guys are going to make, and we're going to do a joint press release and stuff. But let me show them. Let me take back being a presenter for a second.
Please do.
Kind of show them how this works and how they'll be able to access these. And I would love it if anybody out there is using these or has used these symbols. Raise your hand. I know it's hard to raise your hand right now. Not Jane. It's never hard for Jane to raise her hand. I told everybody that we have Lisa Garrett and Jane Odom. It's going to be like the loudest webinar in history.
I'm being very polite and I'm well behaved. Thank you very much.
Right. Yep. Me too. All right. So I'm going to stop showing my screen for a second. Stop showing my camera for a second to give us some more room and go back here. So right now, the Unity symbols are only available to some specific people in our test server, Jane being one, Jeremy Legaspi, me, and then the people who are adding all these symbols for us. Our workers here who've done a colossal amount of work, and we need to thank them, because when you start with 4,000 symbols, it sounds like, oh, you just load them up, but you actually have to go through and add the descriptions and the keywords and the titles and figure out whether they should be restricted, and it is a lot of work.
And it's a work in progress, so we're still cleaning stuff up a little bit.
Yep, it is. I mean, right now, all of the pictures have been physically converted, but the actual indexing is still ongoing, and we're going to find typos and things like that for a while. But once this is in here, if you did a search, you would actually find a category called PRC Unity symbols, and you've got all of the Unity symbols. You'll see a couple things that are different. They've got this little purple Unity flag, a lot like the mine symbol for when you add your own pictures, but these aren't yours. These are Unity's. They are, and you guys were very easy to work with, because one of the big challenges about merging in another symbol set is you've got a great deal of negotiation about what people can do with their with the copyright. What are you allowed to use it in the Word app? Are you allowed to export the symbols? And I got to give you guys credit. Your answer was whatever you guys want. Whatever is going to make it more useful for your users, whatever is going to help the kids. We want to be able to use your generator for making materials. We think it's really going to help our users. How does it work? And so the way that it works is your pictures are imported. There are some differences. We make a lot of big fuss about the fact that our pictures are vector-based. They'll always be scalable. They'll always stay sharp. The Unity pictures weren't originally made to be that way, and so they still aren't. Conversion of that is a colossal amount of work that isn't going to happen. It's not necessary for this. But all of these pictures are in here. If you search, for example, if you searched images for a bagel, you would see the Unity symbols for bagel along with the LessonPix pictures for bagel. Okay, you can drag it over to the tray. It works exactly like our pictures do in terms of how it works in the sound finder, how it works in the letter finder. If I search for things that end in the gull sound, we will find your bagel come up. It will have the little Unity symbol on it. This is exactly the way you would expect it to work. Now, while we get these cleaned up, and even a little bit farther along than that, we don't want people confused until this has kind of been made more public. So by default, the Unity symbols are not returned in search results right now. Once they're indexed properly, we may roll that out. We'll take a look at what the demand is there. Certainly within the AAC users, they want that. So if you go to your LessonPix tab, the one thing all of our users will see now is the ability to turn on the Unity symbols. Do you want the Unity symbols to show up in your search results? And so if that's off, then they won't show up. You'll still find them in the category, the PRC Unity symbols right here. Everybody can see them here. But if you're doing a sound finder search and you only want to see LessonPix pictures, that's an option. If you want to see the Unity pictures, that's an option as well. I think that once they're indexed correctly, that default may change. We'll see how the feedback comes on it. You'll see that there are some things, like I said, we still have to, there are adult pictures in the Unity symbol set, just like there are restricted pictures in LessonPix. We need to make sure that we properly flag those so that they're not, we need to get that handprint that makes it okay to leave you logged in when you leave your classroom. So this is actually a great addition of 4,000 symbols. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to ask Lori, our founder and our artist, do you have any comment on this, Lori? I know you're here.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Jane. I love how you two wear matching shirts.
I know, aren't we good?
So here's the funny thing. Jane has now seen me over 4 years in 5 states, and she's only ever seen me in one shirt.
You only have one shirt.
She only sees me at the conferences. So.
Actually, we have a question. It's for Jane, and it says, what is the name of the PRC AAC app in iTunes?
It's called Words for Life.
Can you tell us a little about that?
So Words for Life was developed by John Halloran, who is developed a system called LAMP, which is Language Acquisition Through Motor Planning. And he originally developed that for kids with autism who were really low functioning, assumed to be really low functioning. And it's kind of cool to watch him in action because, I had him come in and work with a school here in Phoenix, Arizona. And we had the kids that the school districts couldn't handle. And so it was a private school for kids on the spectrum. And these were the kids that were banging their heads and spinning on the floor. And you were just like, what in the world? And within a matter of minutes, he had them sequencing on a device. I mean, we're not just hitting one button, but hitting like more than one button. And it was based on the fact of a motor pattern versus a cognitive pattern. And so that motor pattern is the same pattern that you have if you're driving a stick shift or you're playing piano. But it's based on the fact that all those words are going to remain the same place all the time. And so the child can develop a really nice motor pattern. You can almost hide all the keys on the app and just start a child off with 1 or 2 words and then eventually build it up and they never lose that motor pattern. So that's Words for Life. If you're interested in LAMP or a LAMP training, you can let me know via the aaclanguagelab.com. You can send a message to me and I can get you all the information on that. If you're interested in that, they have them live and then they're going to start them online as well. Pretty powerful stuff.
Excellent. Thanks. Lori, do you think that answered that?
I think she did a great job. Good job, Jen.
I think she's done it before. I think she said that before. So
I work for the company.
Well, I think this is wonderful. I think it is a addition, and you know, Lori, you know, you are a founder, and I'm glad you're excited about it. But you're also our artist. You know, this is also nice that we just added 4,000 symbols and you didn't have to draw them. Right? So I'm excited about that. We can say 35,000 at this point, right?
I have to say kudos to you because I know that, you know, the AAC population is not a very big population. And if you look in most schools, they maybe have 1 or 2 kids that use devices. And, you know, by what you're doing for these kids is fabulous. And, you know, I know you're not going to make a ton of money off of this. You did this out of the goodness of your heart, and we really, really appreciate it.
So I'm gonna be, you know, Lori says awe and thank you, and then Bill will be blunt because that's how our business works. So thank you, and you're right. It is absolutely about the kids, and it's all about the right of these kids to communicate. It is something that I have learned more about augmentative communication than anything else we do. I'm actually in a position now where I'm actually bringing thoughts to people via the things that I've learned from you, Jane, from Karen Janowski, from Carol Zangari, that I can say to people, you know, you should try this. Or we actually learned, Lori and I learned at ATIA last year, something that really helped one of her students in the classroom. That's all true. And it is the primary thing. There is something else, right? So we have a tiny population. Less than 1% of our users use us for AAC. And it's not because our symbols aren't good for AAC. It's because they've got other tools. And more importantly, there's almost none of them. There are, as compared to the number of speech paths out there, the number of special ed teachers out there, the assistive technology professionals, and the speech paths who are AAC experts, it is a tiny fraction. But the assistive technology group in every county always evaluates us, right? So if they're going to bring in LessonPix, whether it's as an, you know, to augment their current symbol tools or to replace them, you've got to make sure that you're supporting the assistive technology folks because they have a very loud voice in the room. They are understaffed. I have spent, and I wrote a little blog on Mary Houston, a little comment on Mary Houston's blog about this, but I have gone to more than one closet in a big district, and I won't name any, but a couple right here where we live in Florida. I've gone to a closet the size, 10 by 10 closet filled with devices and sat with 4 assistive technology professionals who are looking over my shoulder at LessonPix and are very excited because it works well. But these tiny people will never be a core customer base. Our customer base are speech pathologists making materials for therapy, classroom teachers, special ed teachers who use us in ways that are way beyond AAC, right? They're making visual schedules and bingo games, and it's absolutely not, we would never stay in business if we only focused on AAC, but it's important. And it's important intrinsically because these kids need the ability to communicate, and it's important because the core people who support them need help. They're dramatically underfunded, undersupported, and they've got a big say in whether or not we are invited to the table at a district. So there are not only selfless motives involved here. So, and yes, I am always that blunt, and my co-founder is rolling her eyes in the other room right now.
I'm not saying a word. I'm on camera.